Welcome back everybody. Today we begin the inference arc. We move from calculating sample means to estimating unknown population parameters. That's lecture 16. Estimation is the process of using sample information to learn about a population parameter. We can estimate with a single number or an interval. The point estimate of the population mean is simply the sample mean. One number only, and this is the best guess we have. A good estimator is unbiased, consistent, and relatively efficient, and our sample mean X bar is satisfying all of these conditions. An interval estimate gives a range rather than just one point. Some intervals will contain the mean, some won't. The confidence level tells us the long-run success rate. When the population standard deviation is known, this is the confidence interval for the mean, where X bar is our point estimator, and SE is actually the standard error for my X bar, which is equal to that formula. Let me just highlight it for you. Okay. And Z is actually what we call a critical value. This is a number that I can get from the standard normal table, where it will have the area to the right of it being equal to alpha over 2. So what is alpha? Alpha is called the level of significance. And the multiplication of these two numbers, the critical value and the standard error, these are what we are calling margin of error, MOE. And this is actually providing the maximum likely difference between the estimator, which is X bar, and the parameter it is estimating, which is mu. This is the margin of error that we are saying we can estimate our parameter with the knowledge of admitting we have this E as a price. Sometimes we call it E rather than MOE. So our interval would be the estimator X bar exactly in the middle, and if I am adding one E to it, one margin of error, you will have the upper bound of your estimator, while subtracting from that X bar one MOE, margin of error, we will reach our lower bound. These are the most commonly used critical values. So if alpha is 5%, then the Z, the critical value is 1.96, and this is again that value that will have to the right of it under the normal curve, a value which is exactly equal to alpha over 2, which is 2.5%. And this alpha 5% is associated to a confidence level of 95%. This is associated, this alpha is associated to 99%, and this one is associated to 90%. These are the assumptions behind the interval. Normal population, or N is large enough, and large enough, as we did discuss last lecture, is at least 30, and a random sample. Let's warm up by finding the critical values for these confidence level. What is the Z alpha over 2 that is associated with a 96%? We will find alpha first as 1 minus the confidence level, so alpha is 4%, and we'll divide it over 2, so it's 2%, and then we should read that value from my standard normal table that is having to its right a value equal to 2%. But because it's easier to read the value that is associated with the left area because of our standard normal table, we are gonna read that value, which we know it's gonna be exactly the same value that is having alpha over 2 to the right, but with a different sign, actually negative sign. So from symmetry, I'm gonna read that negative value that is having a left area equal to alpha over 2 and omit the sign. So if we have that, let me enter my table with 2% left area and see what is the value of z associated to that one. So 2%. I don't have here 2%, I have O2. This is the closest value to my 2%, so I'm gonna report minus 205, but again I'm gonna omit the minus, so my z is 2.05. And this is the second part. Again, we want to find the z alpha over 2 for a specific confidence level, which is 97%. We'll get alpha as 1 minus the 97%. This is 3% divided over 2. It's 1.5%. And I'm going to enter my table with that 1.5% and see the associated value to associated z value with it. And here is our golden value, the same value here. So my z is nothing but minus 217. And similarly, you can find that the z alpha over 2 associated with the 75% confidence level is equal to that value. Here's a simple example. We want now to estimate the average wait time for customers in that coffee shop. We have here n equal to 40 customers and a mean is equal to 4.2, and that is sigma. Find the 95 confidence interval. And what is the value for that one? How can we get it? The rule is again estimator plus and minus the margin of error. So we need to find SE and get that z alpha over 2. We have here 95%, so this is a common value. I can just plug in that value, which is 1.96. We did see it in our previous slides. Common values for 95%. Z, I don't need to enter my table. Z is 1.96. We are going to calculate SE as sigma over the square root of n. Sigma is 1.1 minute over the square root of 40. That will give us approximately that value. So I'm gonna just plug that value and the 1.96 in my formula. It will give me that interval. So this is actually the 95 confidence interval for the average time, waiting time for customers, and it is between 3.86 minutes to 4.54 minutes. This is an example to show how confidence level affects the width of the interval. We have here daily steps, mean of 7,800 steps, and the sigma for this sample, which is 36 sample, is as such. And we want to find two confidence interval to estimate the mean of the population of the daily steps, not just those for the 36 person, and we want to compare their width. So the first step here is to make sure that n is large enough, so n is 30 over 30, which is large enough, and we want to put the formula for the confidence interval and see what is the width of each one of these two confidence intervals. So the SE is again sigma over the square root of n, which will give me 250. And for the 99 confidence interval, using the usual confidence intervals for the mean, x bar plus and minus margin of error, it will give me this confidence interval, which says that I can estimate with a 99% the daily steps to be between that number and that number. And here what is that red number. This is the Z alpha over 2 for, it's a common value. This is one of the common values we mentioned early in our lecture. If I have a confidence level of 99%, then Z alpha over 2 is 2.58. I don't have to check my table again. And if we do the same for a 90% confidence interval, it's the same rule, but the only difference is in the Z alpha over 2, which is 1.65 if I'm using a 90% confidence level. And this is the interval estimated for the mean, again, the mu, the unknown parameter of the population of daily steps. And as you see, this is shorter, this confidence interval is shorter than that one, and this graph emphasizes what I said. Here that green dots is the beginning and the end of my 90% confidence interval, while the red is simplifying or is representing the 99% confidence interval to estimate the mean of the daily steps with a 99%, and the green one is to estimate the same parameter but with only a 90% confidence level. So this example shows exactly how the confidence level affects the width of the interval. And this is another example just to emphasize the idea. Again, the confidence, we will see here if I did calculate that 3 different confidence interval in details with you, as we did see using our confidence interval formula, we will end up with 3 confidence interval levels, and this is just putting them on my graph. This is, as you see, for a 90% confidence interval, this is the smallest confidence interval to estimate the mean for this sample, the mean of the rent. And here assuming actually that the rent is normal random variable. Why I had to write that information? Because n is not big enough. And as we did discuss before, to let the central limit theorem work, we need to have n greater than 30. If we don't have that, then I cannot use the sampling distribution of my x bar, which is saying it would be a normal distribution. You remember that was one rule, fundamental rule that we did discuss before in the last lecture. So I assumed here that my x's, the rent values, are normal random variables. Anyhow, this is the 3 different confidence interval to estimate the mean of the rent from that sample, 25 apartments only. And as you see, as the confidence increases from 90 to 99, the interval gets wider. Now, to estimate the mean within a specific margin of error, a specific value E, we use this formula. So now it's like you are planning for a new study and you want to make sure that by the end of that study you will be able to estimate the mu such that the maximum difference between that mu and the x bar calculated from your sample is equal to or within that E value. If this is the case, then you are entering, or you would estimate the n for your new study using this formula. So you need to know what is the level of confidence that I would like to be at by the end of my study, and to estimate my mu within at least, at most, E error, margin of error between it and the point estimator x bar from this sample. And of course, we here working under, again, sigma is known. So to calculate this minimum sample size that I need to reach my goal, this is the formula for it. So let we see this example. This example will show us how to determine again the required sample size if we want to be sure or estimate my mu unknown mean with a 95 confidence level, where I am entering my problem with a known sigma equal to 6, and I want to be within the x bar to be within its unknown parameter mu by 2. So this is your E, this is confidence level, and this is your sigma. I'm gonna apply that formula, which is gonna give me the minimum sample size that I can use to achieve my goal, and just plugging in my values. This is 6, this is 1.96 because this is 95 confidence level, and E is 2. So applying that formula, solve for n. This is the foundation of the inference arc that we did discuss today, covering all of these points. Next lecture, we will move to the t-distribution. See you next time, and thanks for being here.